All right, let's talk about getting the girl. And I decided to talk about it right now. So we're going to. Even though the neighbor is out mowing his lawn. And is he done? He might be done. What exquisite timing. So this continues our conversation brought about by the book Get the Girl, How to Be the Kind of Man, the Kind of Woman You Want to Marry, Would Want to Marry by Douglas Wilson. Roll the intro. Questions inspired by Get the Girl, How to Be the Kind of Man, the Kind of Woman You Want to Marry, Would Want to Marry by Douglas Wilson. What I want to talk today is about how much of a whiner you're being when it comes to being who you are. Now, we take in so much from the world. You know, we say we're not feminists or egalitarians, and yet our lives, the decisions we make, our behaviors, constantly say the opposite. Because, of course, we're immersed in it, we're swimming in it. And it's hard to see that which is not egalitarianism, for example. But then when we begin to see that, when we begin to pull out in our sanctification and seek after biblical masculinity, biblical femininity, this brings about other crises. So I'm going to quote from the chapter in this book called The Zone of Vulnerability. Wilson says, when we look at certain modern forms of egalitarian approaches to marriage, we should just shake our heads and say, male and female were not made for that. A woman can be the breadwinner for the home, and he can be a stay-at-home dad, for example. And you can certainly prove to me that it can be done. And I will respond by stirring the sugar into my coffee with a screwdriver. It can be done. Some men will struggle being masculine. It is a bigger challenge for them than it is for others. Some women will struggle being feminine. It is a bigger challenge for them. Because we live in an egalitarian age, these unfortunate people are told to camp out right where they are and to feel aggrieved when they can't attract a man or a woman from that default position. Instead of picking up the genuine challenge of pursuing biblical masculinity or biblical femininity, they decide instead to complain. They decide instead to complain about society's stereotypes. Elsewhere in the book, Wilson talks about stereotypes, them existing for a reason. He talks about the tendency that our contemporaries have of dismissing statements and dismissing arguments by virtue of the exception, right? So you can't even say men are taller than women because someone has an aunt who's 6'2". Okay. We've all seen that happen. And then the outrage that comes from saying men are taller than women because your aunt exists. Well, we Christians are very subject to that outrage. And we're especially subject to that outrage when it comes to us and the expectations that are set on us. Now, it's very important to realize that when the talk is of pursuing biblical masculinity or pursuing biblical femininity, we're not talking about a monad. We're not talking about some masculine oneness that we're all trying to get close to, trying to achieve. And it's going to look the same and express itself the same. Of course not. We're talking about a biblical mode of being. And there's a lot of insecurity that is shown in these negative responses. And this is what I want to talk about with this video, right? For example, when Wilson is talking about the man and woman stereotypes, things you can just say. One of the ones he says is that men are, did he say logical or linear? It's actually a big deal. Someone's going to start a kerfuffle over this. Men are more linear thinkers. Women are more intuitive thinkers. And that one struck me because for a man, I am not much of a linear thinker. I am an intuitive thinker. And just to build irony upon irony into that, the person who pointed that out with an excellent logical argument and examples given was my sainted mother. A great woman and a great teacher. So in a way of saying it, a woman pointed out to me that I think like a woman. But, the reaction of many is to be ashamed or angry. To hide the fact that they can't grill or they can't fix a car. Their dad never taught them or they don't care. To hide the fact that they'd rather have a mimosa than a real drink. To hide the fact that they're really good looking after babies or cooking. That they enjoy being solicitous in service. Because they have this binary way of thinking where men don't do that, women do that. That's foolishness. And yet, be a man. So what is that? This is the whininess I'm talking about. Now there are very clear examples and even laws in the Bible about, well, here's what men do, here's what women do. And so there are certain things that are beyond the pale. For example, when I was a bouncer and men and women were real back in the 90s, I wore a tutu over my jeans on Friday because it was hilarious to kick people out while wearing a tutu. Did that make me a transvestite? Was I dressed in drag? Of course not. Was I playing off of gender roles? Absolutely. So, you need to man up and think about how God made you. Man up and say to yourself, well, you know what? I'm an intuitive thinker. I have high emotional intelligence. Or whatever. And say, that makes me some kind of man. Right? How am I going to be a man, a husband, and a father with the gifts I've been given? I need to cover these bases. I need to take care of these responsibilities, and these are the gifts God gave me. And in areas A and B, I'm not a lot like my friends. Awesome. Right? Stand out, be weird, but be a man. Do your job. Think about how to improve or be more purposeful in the things that you need to be. And then rejoice in how God made you as you're taking care of your responsibilities, as you're doing your job. It'd be fun to hear in the comment sections ways in which you manly men Perhaps break that mold. Are you good at making a souffle? Because I've tried a couple of times and I've never quite been able to pull it off. Now, my wife doesn't really like egg-based dishes, so if I don't figure out how to make a souffle, no one's going to. What are some ways you'll break the mold, break the stereotype, and in doing that and in living your lives, you reinforce those stereotypes because you're fully man and you relish being a man, you relish husbanding your wife and fathering your children. All right, that's it. And there goes the mower, it turned off again. The peace of Christ be upon you.
Aí sim é homem de verdade, não é esses troços do grupo não, essas carcaças velhas, uó, fim de carreira.
Cadê você, profeta, autarquia? Hein? Pedrada no inferno, fala comigo aí, matador de demônio. Hein?
So...